Hi, welcome to Dr. Mark's Music Notes. I'm Dr. Mark Runkles, and today we're going to learn 3 Metronome March tricks to make your practicing even more effective. For an overview of the Metronome March technique, see the video from last week called the Metronome March, Mastering Difficult Passages in 6 Steps. I'll put the link in this video's description so you can find it if you haven't already seen it. Our first trick is to use the metronome subdivision function to help. Most digital metronomes and metronome apps have a way to subdivide each beat into eighth notes, eighth note triplets, or 16th notes. This function helps ensure you're playing all those fast notes evenly, especially when working in slow tempos. It's easy to rush when starting the march at a slow tempo. Sometimes I leave the subdivision on throughout the entire march, but it can be effective to toggle it on and off at the faster tempos to see if you can play evenly without it. There is a section in the third movement of the Mozart oboe quartet where the oboe plays 8 notes per beat against the strings playing 3 notes per beat. So I like to switch the subdivision from duple to triple to see if I can play my 16th notes evenly against the triplets. If you don't have a metronome or metronome app with a subdivision function, I recommend investing in one that does. I prefer my Boss Dr. Beat that's now almost 30 years old, but there should be several free metronome apps that will get the job done. Our next trick is to break difficult passages into smaller, manageable parts. There's no rule saying you have to learn the entire 16-bar hard spot all at once. The breakdown would depend on exactly what is hard within the passage and its phrase structure. We could cut our hypothetical 16-bar phrase in half to work on it in 2 8-bar sections, quarters to work on it in 4 4-bar sections, eighths to work on it in 8 2-bar sections, or 16ths to work on it in 16 1-bar sections. Sometimes I'll break down a difficult passage beat by beat, so each chunk might be as small as 3 or 4 notes. Once I break a passage into sections or chunks for the Metronome March, I like to work on 2 chunks in tandem. Working on one at a time is fine, but I find alternating 2 makes it less tedious. I will provide an example of how to break down a longer difficult passage in a separate post to make applying this trick more clear. Our next trick is to set realistic goals for yourself. As with the previous trick, where you don't have to work on the entire passage at once, you don't have to reach the performance tempo for any part of that passage all at once either. Reasonable goals for each section may only be 5 to 10 beats per minute for a practice session. It may be less, especially as you approach the performance tempo. As much as we might wish otherwise, progress does not occur in a straight line. Be aware of the time you're spending on each section. You'll develop a feel for how long it takes you to prepare a chunk, which you'll need to know to organize the pace of your progress. You may have the perfect plan in place to reach the performance tempo in time for the performance by practicing 1 hour a day, but that plan does you no good if you started too late or make slower progress than expected. I won't go any further into a more general performance preparation topic here. You do have to keep in mind any performance deadlines assuming your goal is to perform the piece, but don't feel you must have a difficult passage ready immediately. Find the pace that works for you and also understand that it will change as you advance musically. I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to watch my overview of the Metronome March if you missed it. A link is in this video's description. Check back here next week for 3 more Metronome March tricks. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, and click the subscribe button for notifications about more information on practice techniques and other musical topics. Play on.